Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffrey Combs, President and Founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Welcome to Tuesday Facebook Live. Good to see you here this afternoon. I will let the Facebook Live populate as I blow some of the dust off of my laptop here. And I'm setting in the saddle here. It's been a very productive morning already. The sun is out in beautiful California and the wreckage is being repaired. I have two contractors on my property today. So welcome everyone. Matt Smith, good to see you. Good to connect with you. Scott Lucas, good to see you this afternoon. Two men of sobriety, welcome. It's good to be here with you. Today's Facebook Live is Access Your Power. Haley, good to see you this afternoon. A lot of familiar faces here. Josh Shea, good to see you this afternoon. Access Your Power. That is today's Facebook Live. There is a book called Power versus Force. Many of you are familiar with that book. That is classic content by the late David Hawkins. That was Hawkins' first popular book. He had written many articles prior to that. I came across that book in 2008 in a bookstore in Walnut Creek, California called Dolphin Dreaming. It was on the shelf. It was a small metaphysical bookstore. I purchased that book. I did not actually even read it for the first year. When I started reading it, it really assisted me to understand the separation between power and force. And the more that you understand the dichotomy that force creates. So when you're procrastinating, you're in force. When you're in conflict, you're going to be in force. There's going to be a counter force and a force to have that dichotomy. Force operates on the win-lose, black-white, right-wrong dichotomy. Enemies are created and someone loses. Power completely stands alone. It's its own energy. It's its own power source. It's like solar. It doesn't rely on a government. It's its own energy. And that energy that you have is the energy within you. That energy within you is depleted by growing up in trauma bonds, growing up in being an adult child of addict alcoholics, being raised by a perpetrator, violator, or narcissist, or being singled out and picked on as a child, sexual abuse, and a multitude of other situations. And then if you live in this egoic mind of that you had a great childhood even though you're traumatized, well, now it leaves a lot of room for doubt, and that we tend to attract to our reality people and situations to fulfill our feelings, which then leads to a life of fight or flight, overwhelm, and living in hypervigilance, which creates a brain fog. So the brain fog that is created absolutely diminishes you from your power. And in that lack of power, I'm not talking like the physical power. So you can be in excellent physical shape. You can be a top tier fitness expert, or you can be a fitness professional, or you can exercise on your own. And that still is a good quality, but that doesn't mean that you have power. The type of power that I'm covering for you today is the emotional power. It's the etheric energy. It's the power to discern, the power to decide, the power to have clearly defined boundaries. And that power is a level of humility. It's a silent power. It's not a physical presence. It is charisma and love and God and other energies that you're transmuting, and people can feel you. And that's the energy that people want to be around. And that energy is also very charismatic, and people feel you. It's also a deep level of humility, where in that humility, you don't easily become provoked. You're able to let people go easily and effortlessly without being in conflict. You don't have the same desire to be right. You don't have to be, like I said, in conflict with people. I was covering this with one of my clients today, the skill of letting go, and the importance of letting go, and why letting go becomes a skill that will last you a lifetime. It's a skill that you consistently enhance, improve on, evolve in, and continue to access throughout the rest of your life. And as you become a master at letting go, and you're living in a state of always letting go, in that always let go state, you're able to navigate, you're able to adapt and adjust easily and effortlessly. You can decide and discern quickly. You can let people go quickly. You're able to be in a state of flow. And just like with what's happening with today in the last couple of days, this is the first 2 days back to back where we have had sunshine for 14 days. That's not even possible in the state of California where I live. I mean, we had 14 days of rain. We don't even have rain like this in 14 times a year. And my assistant and I and my wife have been adapting and adjusting and doing everything we can to be in a state of flow, despite or in spite of the circumstances that are outside of you. And Kellyanne just said she just finished reading Letting Go. Congratulations. That is an exceptional accomplishment. It's not, for many people, an easy book to read, but once you start to understand the context of the way Hawkins writes, David Hawkins, and then the content, and then the application, that is a book that you can virtually read hundreds of times. This morning at 4:30, I was on my spin bike and I was reading the first 2 pages of the section on fear, and then I went to the back section of that chapter and read the section on love. So that was in the fear chapter. And situations that you fear, you learn to send love against it. And so that love that you release begins to neutralize the lower self and the fear that we hold on to. And Aaron says 3 weeks of overcast in Toronto until a few days ago. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron, we've had torrential rains to where I know that you can know construction, so the ground was saturated. Rain was virtually coming in people's basements through the concrete cinder block. And I mean, it just has been an amazing ordeal here for people who have never experienced it. And so we encounter these situations. We encounter inclement weather that lead to tornadoes and storms and disasters and situations. And this is why letting go is such an important skill, so that you don't fear the worst case scenario. And when you're living in power, you're in the solution. Good word, Aaron. Unprecedented. Yes, that is the word. So when you're in power, what that means is you're in the solution because you are the solution. And you also you learn to let go of the outcome. Now, when you're controlling and you live in the term payoff and you recreate the same payoff over and over, well, that's what you learn to let go of, is letting go of the disappointment, the frustration, the worst case scenario. This always happens to me. The self-talk that perpetuates the outcome that you don't want to create, yet create to fulfill the neurochemical craving that you have become emotionally addicted to. Once again, this is why letting go becomes a skill that, when mastered, monitored, the mechanism is actuated, that you begin to live in an always let go energy. And it's that energy of letting go. It's not the spirit, it's actually a skill set. And in that skill set, you're virtually moving energy. You're able to move the energy away from you. You're able to create the boundaries. You don't feel compelled or drug in to conflict. You don't feel a desire to be right or prove someone wrong. You can spot the narcissistic behavior. You can spot the person that wants to be right. You can spot the difficult customer and be able to neutralize the situation quickly. You can let go very quickly without feeling overwhelmed. Now, overwhelmed is a state of consciousness that a large percent of the world lives in. Over-obligate, too much going on at one time, not having clear boundaries, waiting till the last minute, living in disorganization, frustration, disappointment, and then the egoic mind that says, I don't know, I don't understand, this doesn't make sense. And that's unfortunately an area that many people reside in. Now, as you are having a better understanding of what letting go and then accessing power is, that's transcending consciousness. Transcending consciousness is the process of letting go of the anxiety, fear, and doubt, living one day at a time in a higher state of resonance called consciousness. So the consciousness means that rather than being overwhelmed, you begin to accept being overwhelmed. Rather than living in denial, you accept what's happening and you start to take the proper actions one day at a time. Rather than being so overwhelmed with disorganization or so overwhelmed with being in debt, you start to realize that you created the debt. You own the fact that you created this. Or it could be an outstanding circumstance that may not have been your fault, but is now your responsibility because you're in the middle of it. And even in that situation, you're able to access your power. So power is the emotional state of being present and being in the now, rather than being in your head and being in the brain fog and being in the denial and then being absolutely paralyzed where you're not able to perform or not able to produce because you're so overwhelmed and so worried about outcomes that haven't happened. Unfortunately, this is an epidemic that faces most of the world. This is why so many people are financially challenged, because they are so overwhelmed with the circumstances that have escalated, that have compounded, and that has a shelf life, and that people continue to hold on to. Any addict who's ever faced the addiction has hit the proverbial rock bottom, and the pain is great enough understanding is a place where you can let go, which is a very overrated place and is not required to be at rock bottom. What is required is honesty, and the honesty becomes power. Because when you're in denial, you have no power and you have no responsibility because you have no idea how to let go. You have no idea where to start. You have no idea how you got here. So that payoff, which many people create, allows them to avoid being responsible. Now, the breakthrough factor happens when you allow your enlightened soul, that space that you know you have, that space in your own universe that you know you have in your own heart. You know you're better than this, and you stop denying it. And you let go of your guilt that other people have put on you, the cloak of guilt, and then you address the shame that's been in your heart for the challenges, the mistakes, the sabotages, the botched relationships, the jobs that didn't pan out, the debt that's been accrued, the broken relationships, the broken homes, and the other situation that gets created from long-term trauma that's held on to. And the more that you can begin to claim ownership, and the more that you can start to own the situation for what it is, that's power. Having no power is when you're powerless. And when you're powerless, you definitely are not good enough. You don't know where to start, where to go, who to connect with, and then you will hold on to grief and apathy. And instead of letting go of relationships, you'll mourn these relationships. And even though the relationships were highly dysfunctional, people will continue to mourn these dysfunctional relationships, and then they stay in this emotionally overwhelmed state so that they don't have to be responsible. Now, this is an epidemic, as I said, that affects a large percent of the world. If you can grasp this, understand it, and then move into the acceptance of it, move into the forgiveness portion of it, and forgive yourself for the years of procrastination. Forgive yourself for the debt you've created. Forgive yourself for the dysfunctional relationships you've attracted. So honesty, when you're rigorously honest, you can let go of criticizing yourself. You can be honest about the situation without critiquing it. You can be honest with the situation without judging yourself and judging others, because that's what will allow you to practice the skill of letting go, the separation between the feelings and the events that shape them. Later this afternoon, I'm doing a live call for a group of women that are top-tier fitness in the top-tier fitness industry, and the leader of that organization asked me if I would assist the 100 or so women on this Zoom this afternoon to understand what letting go means. So letting go is a skill. It's a practice application. It's not a myth. It's not just an energy. There's an application of letting go that once understood, that you can be in a space of always letting go. It's the separation between a feeling and the event that shapes them. My clients that don't understand this will continue to ask me the same question. Yeah, but is all I do is just let go? No, it's not just. Just comes from the word justification. You're not justifying letting go. You're practicing an application. It means you give less power to situations that don't merit it. You let go of the grief that you continue to hold on to from relationships and careers and other situations that the body wants to hold on to. Grief is a very low level of energy, as is apathy. Apathy is the disappointment, frustration. Nothing goes right for me. This always happens to me. I'm never good enough. I'm never going to get out. So that's the never. As you move out of the absolute of life, the absolute of not being good enough, and you begin to let go of the trauma bonds, panic patterns, as you let go of the narcissistic perpetrators, violators who have violated you, as you start to choose better careers and have better choices for yourself, and you stop worrying about the outcome that hasn't happened, and you focus on being here, right here, right now, and your focus is this 24 hours, not worrying about tomorrow. Yeah, but what happens when? Well, it's not what happens when, it's who you're being right here to now. So the more that you understand this, that you can be here right now, and that means that you're present. And present means that you're able to turn off the analytical egoic mind that processes, that thinks, that rationalizes, that tries to make sense, and consistently says, yeah, but. And the energy that many people have if they want to make someone wrong. They'll ask someone a question, the skilled expert is delivering the answer, and the ego interrupts and goes, yeah, but you don't understand. So that's how many people operate. And that letting go becomes power rather than holding on to the energy of anger, hate, resentment, guilt, shame, abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, apathy, and pride. And that power is in your body is accessed by a breath. Now, many people confuse this and they go, well, all I do is just breathe. Well, it's not quite that simple. Breathing is a component of letting go. And what we end up doing is we live in a short breath cycle. We're holding on to the energy from the past, and we live in a fight or flight hypervigilant state that creates a brain fog in the amygdala, which enlarges the hippocampus of the brain, which is memory, shrinks, and the prefrontal cortex, which is how we discern and decide, also shrinks. And so that's where procrastination comes. So it means you have a challenge with memory, you procrastinate, and you stay in an overwhelmed state getting ready to get ready. When it comes to dating, mating, careers, jobs, decisions, moving to the places that you should be moving to, being late to the IRS, being late on bills and other payments, and just barely getting by, scratching out a living. That is not power. That is anxiety. And that anxiety that most people live in is a state that you unequivocally can let go of. It's not, yeah, but how do I do it? It's a one day at a time process. It's a longer breath cycle, being aware of the words that come out of your mouth, being able to change the way you communicate between your limbic brain and your gut. There's 3 brains in your body. There's your brain, your heart, and your gut. And most people are cut off from 2 of those brains, from their heart and from their gut, and they just live in their head. And if that is you, today is the day that it could be your day to breathe, release, and let go. You've unequivocally suffered enough. There's no nobility in suffering, and there's no benefit to just barely getting by. You were designed to live a great life. That's yours by divine right. It's yours by choice. And it doesn't matter whether you're 40, 50, or 60, there's still plenty of time for you to change the behaviors that keep you living in fight or flight, overwhelmed, avoiding being your best self. And this is what many people do. They avoid the responsibility of being successful. They avoid the responsibility of having a healthy relationship. They avoid the responsibility of money. They avoid the responsibility of love, joy, and bliss, because that would contradict everything they've learned about not being good enough. I saw John, I saw Ashley, I saw Linda, Chris, Aaron, I saw Jennifer. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. My name is Jeffery Combs, president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. And the last point of this is in power, then you add the two letters EM, empower, and you are empowered, and you're empowering others. And in empowering others, it means you're learning how to lead and mentor. Your leadership ability is improving. Your ability to one-on-one mentor people and be able to share wisdom and insight with people who are of like mind with you. It's the Mastermind Alliance, one or more coming together from common causes for common occurrences and common outcomes. Sarah Adams, so good to see you. Curtis Stamp, good to see you. I appreciate it. Curtis, I saw your friend request today. Thank you for your friend request, and congratulations on your success. Sarah, so good to see you. Ashley, how are you? Good to see you. Chris Boland, always. John in Iowa, good to see all of you here this afternoon. If you are new to my content and you have not accessed a free 20-minute coaching call, you can go to my website and you can fill out a survey, or you can go directly up to Facebook Messenger. You can send me a message and I will respond to you quickly. If you're a former client and would like to re-engage with me about my coaching services for 2023, I have a unique marketing proposition for all former clients. So send me a message. Look forward to connecting with you. I will be back here tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific. And as I said, the sun is shining in California. That has been a rare occasion for the last month. It is awesome to see the sunshine 2 days in a row. So good to be here with you. Have a great afternoon. I'm going to go and hit the record button, and this will be available for playback.